cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, good morning and welcome to Tea Time. That's right, Miss Liz is back. We're in a full new week. It is Thursday morning, and this morning I am joined with not one, but two incredible people. Husband and wife team. That's right, we're going with teams this morning as we get started with Tea Time this morning. So we're going to do all the good stuff. We're going to get into the disclaimer, all of that good juicy stuff, and we're going to have a good old strong cup of tea, because that's what we do here on Tea Time is we serve the TEA, Teaching Educational Awareness. So let me get into all of that good juicy stuff, and then we're going to get Michael and Judy in here, and we're going to spill some tea with you guys on technology, seniors, and fun facts, music, all of that good juicy stuff. So grab your teas, grab your coffee, grab a glass of wine, whatever you like to enjoy this morning, and let's have a good old strong cup of tea. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith, however may bring forward dialogue and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and the information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that is related to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or any panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should today's show not be your cup of tea, you can join me at a later date, at a later time. And again, all tea times this year are going to be on Thursday unless they are a rescheduled tea time. So pay attention. And let's grab some tea. Let's serve a really good strong. So I'm going to get Judy and Michael in here, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves a little bit. And then I'm going to, in between the show, I'm going to give you a little bit more update to them. But I want to get them in because they've been sitting in the back patiently. So let's get Michael and Judy in, and let's have some tea. So welcome, Michael and Judy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. So I'm going to start with Judy. If you want to share a little bit with the audience who you are and what you do and all that good stuff and how you met Michael.
Oh boy, that is the secret sauce. Oh my goodness. What we do is we actually enrich seniors' lives. We help them with technology. We have music trivia, anything to enrich their lives. And Michael and we met, I think it was in the Stone Age, wasn't it, Michael? And we actually met. at a singles club. And it was my last hurrah. I felt I was very old and there was no future for me. And I said, one more time, I'm going out. And I met Michael. And it has been, how many? 102 years together?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And Michael, would you like to share how you met Judy and see if the story, if you guys met at that same single bar? Like, oh, I just a little juicy this morning.
Well, it was actually a pub. Okay, she kind of glanced over it. It was a singles party that was in a pub, probably about about 2 or 3 miles from where Judy lived, a little mile from where I lived. And the irony of that is, my sister and her second husband also met at the same location, but that was a little ironic. The only other thing I want to add to this flavor is that this whole thing stemmed the education and technology training stemmed off of a seniors group that we started in our community in 2017 as it was primarily a social group and a volunteer group and a discussion group. But when COVID struck, we had to migrate them to Zoom and quickly realized that there was a big technology gap between socializing and getting on the internet and sharing screen and things of that nature. The first things we started doing, because we started running out of topics, was entertainment. That's where things like trivia came into being. We produced a show called 1968. Those were the days. We did Jeopardy type trivia games. We did trivia and Kahoot, using Kahoot. We expanded it to places like Meetup and Eventbrite, and then some local organizations. And then when they started registering for COVID shots in the States, where we're at, we quickly realized that even though people could get on Zoom, they didn't know how to navigate the various sites. They didn't have the patience to go through all of the rigmarole that was because everything was online and people were just not used to it. And that's when we started training, and we try to get the local establishment, the local village involved, and we even went up to the state and the national level trying to get representatives involved. And of course, we got shot down, and so we decided to do it ourselves, and we've been expanding ever since.
So Michael and Judy, what have you noticed about the senior services and entertainment? Has it decreased since COVID, or has it increased?
Do you want to answer that, Jude? You want me to?
You start. I'll fill in.
I think it's increased because what's been happening is there's a lot of seniors out there that were used to doing certain things on the internet. Okay. When the entire country went away from flip phones to smartphones, it started getting more intense. We're not like Europe. We are not dominated by smartphones here because the computers were our starting point. Judy and I have been involved with computers for 35 years. And I know other parts of the world, Europe and Asia particularly, are more attuned to smartphones. Well, we're not. So even getting seniors to migrate to smartphones was a difficult transition. And what's happening now is I think that as more seniors are getting aware of what's going on, number one, and number two, with what's happening as far as corporations demanding technological skills. In other words, things like online banking, online shopping, online news, the disappearance of newspapers. people are searching for these things. And the biggest problem we have is those people that are not on the internet and are not attuned to smartphones to open their eyes. Once they open their eyes, it's like that's where their journey begins. And what we try to do is make that transition. In other words, to help them open their eyes, to help them see what's available, and to make that journey less fearful, because that's one of the things that we see. There's a lot of fear and anxiety out there, and we try to overcome that. So Judy, I don't know whether you wanted to add to that.
I just want to say that I believe the pandemic brought out the necessity for technology. If you were not able to get on Zoom and occupy your time, you were just lost. And it was a very big learning curve for the people that did not have that technology, for them to be able just to get on Zoom. And we actually helped people get on Zoom before they got on meetings with us. And once they learned, they were very happy that this was another outlet for them, and opened up their eyes to all sorts of programs that they could attend.
So we have a question here for you guys, and they're asking, are there other services yours out there in other countries, or is it just in the United States?
Oh, I'm sure there are. We're not aware of it, because what I have been doing for the past 5 years is trying to gather resources for seniors, but I've relegated that to the United States. The only other that I am sure exists is in Canada. Canada does a lot of this as well. There's an organization in Canada called Cyber Seniors. That's an online organization that teaches seniors various types of technology skills, even cybersecurity. They've started something in cybersecurity. I mean, we've got a lot of these resources listed on one of our websites. We just have pages and pages. That's one of the problems I see, is getting that information down. If I can take a little tangent here, I volunteer for an organization that services seniors out of Baltimore, Maryland. We're in the Midwest. We're actually outside of Chicago, but I do a lot of volunteer work in that area. Okay, we had a discussion one day about using social platforms, social media, for those people who were small business people or employees of an organization, and they could not come up with one social media platform for seniors outside of Facebook. And there's gobs of them out there. They're just not aware of them. So if those people who are servicing the senior community don't know about them, how can they tell the seniors that they're servicing? And that's my push. Let's get this information. We're sharing that information. Anybody who wants it can go to our site, can download it, and we just want to help seniors. That's really our goal.
Well, and you're making something really clear, Michael, is there's not enough awareness out there.
Right.
We have all these incredible services, and this is what Teatime is about. It's about bringing the awareness, teaching educational awareness through a cup of tea, and hopefully this tea time that we're having this morning will get that awareness out there that there are incredible services for the seniors. We also have another question here for Judy. Judy, do you find when you're teaching online training, is it harder to train a man or a woman?
I could get in trouble answering that. I really think it's on their mindset. Because I also teach a citizenship class, and of course it's a mixed class, and it just depends on their attitude and how they perceive things. And I would say it's 50-50.
Oh, I disagree. I think
I knew you would.
And this is why we have a team here. We have a husband and wife team.
If we go, see, we do classroom training, and we do in-person training, and we do individual mentoring and coaching. All right. And by and large, women are the ones that look to us for the individual training. Okay. They're willing to admit their shortcomings, which most men don't. And they're a lot easier to work with. And because we're a husband and wife team, one of us is able to get through to them at one point and another. But I don't even, other than helping some people with Zoom, some quote unquote fellow males with Zoom, I don't even recall one male individual mentoring session that we've done. They've all been females, haven't they, been, Judy?
They have, but I think you're taking a very chauvinistic view on this.
I don't think so. I'm
Yes,
saying
I
that
do, because
I'm saying that men won't admit their shortcomings, and I acknowledge that.
yes, that is true, but there are some very tech-savvy women also. So it's not only that they're the ones that need the most help.
Well, we also have a number of tech-savvy people that help us in these groups. Now, on that side of the coin, I would have to say the vast majority of them are men rather than women.
Okay.
You agree with that, Judy, huh?
Okay.
All right, we'll fight it out later.
There's going to be a pickle.
A topic for another time.
When we meet in the kitchen or the family way, there'll be a little fisticuff.
So the ABnC parties and more. If you could share a little bit more on that and and how the parties got into it and what is the more?
Well, do you want to do this or do you want me to do this?
I will do this gladly.
All right, go ahead.
We started out as a party business, and we were Judy and Michael Yublosky. That was the name of the business. So when we were going to buy supplies or going to pay for something, they always say, "What is your business name?" We go, "Judy and Michael Yublosky." "No, what is your business name?" "That is our business name." So we decided it was time to have a real name, incorporate. And one day we had talked about a gazillion different names. And Michael, in his marketing brain, wanted it to start with A, so it's at the top of the alphabet. So we're sitting at dinner finally one night, and our daughter lives with us, and we were talking, and our daughter said to us, "What are you talking about?" And Michael goes, "This is an AB conversation and C is not included." So we decided ABnC to include everyone. And the more is everything else.
I love that. Like that was a family discussion. I really love that.
Right.
It was, I got shot down because I wanted to have amazing parties with 3 A's to start with it. And Judy shot that one down. And really the more came about because of the way we incorporated, which allowed us to do everything. So now that we branched into this other aspect, and our slogan on our website is technology made fun, for fun for seniors. So we're trying to incorporate the party aspect about it. That's one of the reasons we do entertainment segments. We do musical trivia. When we're teaching class, Judy does a section called Wacky Tips, where she brings in humor. So we try to make it a fun environment. And a lot of seniors complain about the fact that webinars or tech training is much too dry. It goes over their heads. They can't understand it. Techies talk techie, and what we try to do is translate the jargon, translate it so people can understand it, and again, add a little humor. In fact, we do a program for Senior Planet from ARP, which is a nationwide program where we talk about, and that program's called Wacky Tips. That's where the wacky comes in. And one day we were.
And again, to StreamYard. Oh, there we are. Michael is back and Judy's back. So, Michael, if you'd like to continue, sometimes we have some worms chewing on us. We had Kathy's crawling composters a few months last month, and since then our worms have been chewing on my wires.
Where did I leave off? Because I just kept on talking. So
that's a good thing. Just keep talking. If you see that little black wormhole come again, you just keep talking because sometimes we can still hear you.
So one day we were doing it for a local chapter, a local location of Senior Planet, and we were hosting about 20 people on average to a session the end of last year. And we probably had about 40 people in the group, and they would come and go because it was just a local chapter. And we were concentrating mainly on Windows and Android devices, but also talking about computers and the internet, which is global. It doesn't matter whether you have a Mac, whether you have a Linux, whether you have a Windows operation, technology. So again, but because it was local, we had a small following. This year, they consolidated and decided to bring all the branches together under one centralized function, and they asked us if we would like to take our program national, and we, of course, said yes. Why not? So now we're doing about 100 people on Monday afternoons. People are amazed at how we can control this amount of people, and we take Q&As. In addition to making presentations and doing suggestions and having other people contribute to it. And one day we were running out of time, and I said, I guess we'll skip on Judy's wacky today. And we had a revolt. People said, no. If you want us to stay here, you better bring in wacky. So Judy does her humoristic aspect about it every day, which is quite fun.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Michael, because you were mentioning before the little worm started chewing on us, is that the seniors are finding that the training is dry. And I find even as the younger generation, that technology and training is dry. Let's add some humor to it. Let's add some fun into it, that we don't have to be so straightforward. So where does the wacky tips come in from you, Judy? Like, is it like fun facts? Is it jokes? Is it dancing?
A little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. I usually put up little like cartoons, little trivia, just a little something it takes, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. It's not a big thing. Just a little breakup in between the technology.
She adds riddles, she adds puns, she adds cute signs, I
would want the wacky too. I would if you wanted me to stick around, I'd want a little bit of wacky.
We are kind of wacky,
Say what wacky is, Michael.
Well, this organization, I had a counterpart, and by the name of Dave, and Dave is an Apple addict, and he runs like a tutoring session on Apple products, Mac and iOS and tablets, and which I find are difficult to set up. I'm more interested in what can I do, how can I learn a new program? How can I research things? How can I find things if we're shopping at a good bargain? How do I find a shortcut? How do I expedite things? So I'm more of the admin kind of guy, and that's what's been my forte. And I got involved with Senior Planet probably 2 years ago, and Dave teaches, as I said, a small class when people want to set up their Apple products, and it's mainly setting it up. And he knew that I was a Windows guy and an app guy. And he's actually sent some clients to me for other things that I do as far as websites and technology training for businesses. And one day I was visiting what they call Lunch and Learn little over a year ago, which is a 5-day-a-week program that Senior Planner puts on, again, at lunchtime across the country. And somebody raised a Windows question. And Dave deferred it to me because he couldn't answer the question. He said, "Do you know what the answer is?" And I said, "Yes." And what happened was the program director, I knew the program director. So I approached Dave and the program director and saying, "Well, you've got an Apple program called Apple Addicts. Do you want us to do a Windows program?" And they said, "Yes." So I said, "Well, we got to come up with something cutesy like Apple Addicts." So I said, "Well, what we concentrate is on Windows, Android, computer, and internet." So that was the birth of Wacky Tips. So that's why, that's how it started, Wacky Tips. And it's grown. It's grown. So as I said before, we're doing 80, 90, 100 people every Monday on those sessions nationwide.
That is awesome. It's awesome to know that what technology can do and how many people it can connect, right, in different countries. And that's pretty incredible too, because you also get to learn the cultures and traditions in their country as well.
We have a regular from Canada. We have a regular from Germany. He gets up to come visit us.
It's like the middle of the night, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's so fun to play with those time zones, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they drive me wacky, those time zones.
You're a wacky aficionado as well. That's all.
Yeah, I do it so many different time zones, and sometimes I'm like, what zone am I in? So I want to get I have a question here for you guys. What is the training for boomers and silent gens? What's that stand for?
The age group that we concentrate on, 40s and up.
Oh.
Well, that's a little young.
I was going to say
I can get in that.
But you know what? The irony of this is, at least in the United States, it spans all generations. There was an interesting article out about Gen Z, which are the younger people that are at the top 25 years old and under, that generation that's entering the workforce. And this article really shook me up, and I've been talking about it. It talked about the fact that as they're entering the workforce, they don't know how to run a copy machine. They don't know how to run a printer or to change ink on a printer. They don't know how to organize a file system on a computer. And it's not beyond reasoning, because they have been working with primarily smartphones or tablets all of these years. And when they get into a business atmosphere, they've got to do that, and they're not being taught in school. So sometimes we actually get people for other networking organizations that I'm in at a younger age asking very similar questions to what we're doing. So this, even though we try to concentrate on again, I would say 50 years old and up, the subjects that we handle are almost universal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And it's true, right? We're not taught these things in school. And I think we need more education so that we are prepared when we get older, you know. I know my dad really struggled and got frustrated with technology. We would try to explain something to him, and he would be, okay, but I don't know the speed that you guys know the speed. So slow it down. So do you get that a lot when you're training? Is a lot of the members that join you on Monday, do they say slow it down, or do they say speed it up?
We usually try to gear it to what their ability is. If they don't get it, then we dumb it down.
So I want to get into some of the entertainment that you guys do. I did find that you do Jeopardy and you do Name That Tune. So if you'd like to share a little bit about that, I'll go to you for that one, Judy.
These are really fun programs. They're interactive audience participation. For the music trivia, we play a song and have the audience guess what song it is, and then have other questions relating to it. Who sang it? Where was it from? What year was it? And it's bringing back memories. And this is really exciting to the audience. They really enjoy this. And Jeopardy is another interactive game. We found an online platform for that, and it's an actual Jeopardy looking game. And we can do it in teams, do it in individuals. And Jeopardy, as you know, you ask the answer is more prominent. That's first. And then they have to guess what the question is asking.
So you guys mentioned at the beginning of the show 1968 were the days. Now, does 1968 represent a certain special time for you guys, or is that just a good year, or what's
I originally had
1968?
set up another date that we should be doing this, and Michael changed it because, Michael?
Oh, Judy, what did you want to do? You wanted to do 1964, I think, originally?
I think so, something like that.
I think so. And the irony of it was 2 or 3 days prior to that, I was talking about 1968. And 1968 was a memorable year for me because I was working and I was due back at work on Monday. And I had been on a 2-week vacation in California, just driving up the east section and down the west section, down the coast. And we're in the airport, flying standby on Sunday night, coming into Chicago. And what is the next day? It's the start of the Democratic Convention in the city of Chicago when all the riots were taking place. And since we were traveling down the coast of California, we're completely unaware of what's going on in Chicago until we got to the airport. And I'm sitting there saying, I guess I should have let my boss know I might be delayed getting into work on Monday. It was
So Michael, I'd like to get into the Citizen Tour. You have that on your website. Could you explain a little bit about what the Citizen Tour is?
It's not a tour, it's training. Judy does training.
Citizenship class, that's what you're referring to. I teach immigrants what they need to know to pass their interview. It's a 12-week session, and we have from all over the world. They have to be here 5 years to go for their citizenship. So there's a whole range of knowledge. And when the pandemic came, it was quite an issue trying to get immigrants with very limited English to understand how to get on Zoom. So at that point, I spoke with each and every one in class just to get them to understand how to be on Zoom. Now everyone knows Zoom, and it's, a breeze.
Oh, well, that's so good. And that is awesome service that you're doing, Judy. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's very rewarding for me.
Sometimes we need those services, right? Because we don't know how to do these things.
Correct.
And that's amazing. And that's what I see from the two of you is that you bring a lot of awareness, a lot of services. With the ABnC, you also have the Sages of VG. What is that? Is that connected with the ABnC?
Michael?
Well, that is the senior group that we started in Buffalo Grove, Illinois in 2017. So that's a website that we developed that's a sharing website, because what we were trying to do at that time was just share information with fellow seniors. We did volunteer work. We did socialization. We got together and had discussions. We would talk about movies. We would talk about books. We would talk about topics that were relevant. And I, at that point in time, was gathering these resources. Judy started a calendar that she might like to talk about, where she posts all neighborhood and extended events on the calendar. So I started writing a blog. And then when COVID struck, it became very, very intense because we quickly realized that the almost everybody we had in the group was not aware of what was happening with COVID. What happened was I was attuned to what was going on the news cycle because I had to do what we called good news. Because if we ran out of what would happen is we'd schedule a program for an hour and a half from 10 a.m. to 11:30 on a Thursday, every second and fourth Thursday of the month. And then the group would arrange to go out to lunch about 12 o'clock, and they would have a reservation. And if we ran short of time, I would have to tap dance. I'd have to fill in that time. You know, if we had a speaker and the speaker didn't go, for the length, or if we had a discussion and it started falling flat, I would have to fill in. So I would walk in with a notepad. I know you raised your notepad before. I would walk in with my spiral notepad. Got one too, right here. Okay, and I'd flip through it because I'd be monitoring the news for good news. All right. So when COVID struck and I started reading about it in January of that, 2020, I would say, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? Nobody wanted to talk about it. Well, what happened in the States was they did a lockdown called shelter in place. And 2 days before that, we were supposed to have a meeting. And 2 days before the meeting, I asked Judy, do you think we ought to call off the meeting? Why bring people there? And we kind of forgot about it. And that Thursday, we're at breakfast, we're eating breakfast, and Judy says, I've gotten 6 or 8 calls about whether we're having a meeting. And I said, if I would have known that, I would have called off the meeting. So we went ahead with the meeting anyway. And we're sitting around and they're talking about social amenities, which I hate. Judy's a social.
Sure.
Judy's a social butterfly. I'm a techie. And I said, well, do you want to talk about it? And nobody wanted to talk about it. I said, well, we're talking about it. And I quickly realized they knew nothing about what was going on. So when we no longer could do in person and we migrated to Zoom and I started blogging every day, what I was doing was feeding them information about what was happening to keep them aware. Because of Judy's the party business, we have a retail license, a retail business.
Resale.
And we were able to find things that you couldn't find in the stores on bulk: hand sanitizer, masks, shields, cleaning goods that we could buy and then pass on the costs. We didn't never marked it up unless it was a couple of pennies. It said,
to make it even.
We're not making pennies here, and we fully disclosed. So our real mission at that time was keeping people safe, and we have to. I look back after a couple of years and I said we didn't lose one person in that group to COVID. Some of them came down with COVID, but we didn't lose one person to COVID in that group. And it was very, very self-gratifying that we were able to, to help these people. Judy, do you want to talk about your calendar and your event?
Before that, I want to interject one thing. During that time, there was a lot of information going on, but there were still people that did not have computers. So they had no idea of everything that was happening with COVID. And then when the COVID shots came, they had no way to schedule the shots. So we actually worked with the township and set up a hotline for these seniors to call and schedule their COVID shots. And then we personally, scheduled some for people that they had no way of getting their shots. It was just so heartbreaking.
Yeah. Judy scheduled rides for people so they can get a local shot rather than travel and pay taxi fare. We published a PDF with information and disseminated to organizations, churches and synagogues and libraries and public offices for them to disseminate. Some of them were even published in newsletters and things of that nature, because we just empathized with the struggles that the people were having in this regard. Did you want to get into your calendar, Judy?
Sure, get into the calendar. So just really as part of a community service or effort, organizations send me what is happening in their group. And on our SAGES calendar, I then list what is available. So everyone can see what's happening on a certain day, what programs are available, what they can go to if they have some time to fill up their time. There might be a music program or a lecture or something to spark their interest. And it still goes on.
Yeah, we also had things like recycling, if there's a recycling fair or a village program, like our village runs a program around the beginning of September. So we like to advertise, because if people aren't on the internet or don't know how to do search and they're not reading newspapers, how are they going to get their information? They're just not available. Mm-hmm. And we find a lot of people don't want to do the research work. They want it handed to them on a platter.
Yes.
And some of the questions that they ask us, sometimes I say, why don't, and I don't like the word Google as a verb. All right. I like the word search because I'm not an advocate of using Google search. We use other search engines. So I say, why don't you just search? And, sometimes it's eureka. Why can't I put it into a search engine and learn how to do that?
And I like that you say that search, because there are so many search engines out there besides Google, and some other search engines will give you something that Google won't even give you. So check those things out. And I always tell my children this: check yourself out, see what's being put out about you online. Mm-hmm. Because that's also a good awareness as well. And as seniors, with identity theft and all that, it's important to know how to search the engines and see if your identity is being used. Have you guys done any of that kind of training for seniors?
Oh yeah. We teach them the different types of browsers, how to be safe on their browsers, how to limit their data and their privacy. That's why we get into to search engines like DuckDuckGo and Brave as alternatives to Safari and Google and Edge and Bing and Firefox. I mean, some of them are really good, but if you really want to protect your privacy and security, there are certain things that you could do. And what we try to do is not push anything. We're not making any money from the information that we're trying to disseminate. What we're trying to do is let people know what their options are, and then proceed from that point, making an adult decision, and try to give them as much information as we're aware of, because we're both researchers. We like the internet. We've been on the internet for over 30 years.
Imagine that. I'm only 35.
That's right. And some months. So we just want to make them aware. It's like we had somebody come on who, in my thinking, got taken by a salesperson, whether that was intentionally or not. They got sold a laptop that was way overpriced for what their needs were, and they were sold a subscription to a certain online productivity suite. I'm not going to mention names. All right. Which takes us, at that point in time, it meant subscribing, because a lot of organizations have gone to recurring revenue, and I understand what they're doing. But if you take advantage of a senior by overselling, because all she needed was a word processor. So I turned her on to the fact that a Windows computer comes with a word processor built in, and that there's a free productivity suite out there called LibreOffice. And it's like, they've never heard of these kind of things. And that's what we try to do, is let them know. And most of the stuff that we talk about is open source, is free on the internet, or shareware, or things of that nature. We've also started a group talking about Linux and what that alternative to Windows and to Mac is. So we're just trying to educate people and let them know, again, what's available so they can make an adult decision.
We have a couple comments here coming in for you guys, and they want to just say thank you. Mainly, it's a thank you for the awareness. How can they reach you? We'll get into that at the end of the show. We'll get all of that good stuff for you guys. And thank you for letting me know about the word processor. I was unaware of it as well. So I'm guessing you just saved somebody.
Good.
Thank
That's
you for that, Michael.
One thing I want to say
but
about
we're
it, there's two word processors out there. One's called OpenOffice, and the other one's called Libre, as in the French free, Libre office. That's available for both Macs, Windows, and Linux. And I have been using that probably for over a decade, and I just absolutely love it. But the other free productivity suite, of course, is Google Docs, which is a free set of productivity. It's available. You don't need Gmail. A lot of people think you need Gmail to take advantage of it, but you don't. All you need is a Google account, and that's online. The shortcoming on that, and here I am educating people, is what you're saving in the cloud. And a lot of people don't like to save that information in the cloud, whereas LibreOffice is something you have to download to your computer, and you're saving your files on your computer. So that's what I want to try. I try to explain to people what their options are.
And that's really good information to get out there, because I was unaware of all of that. So
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Right. Absolutely.
So now I want to get into why we're here. We serve teas. So I want to get to know what your teas are. So I'm going to start with Judy. Judy, if I give you the word, what is your tea? What words are you giving me?
teaching, enrichment, and attitude.
Now, do you want to give me a little bit why those words?
Teaching is mainly what we do. We're teaching. And enrichment, hopefully it is enriching people's lives, opening up their eyes. And attitude, your attitude has a lot to do with how much information you can obtain. You have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right attitude.
Mindset's a lot.
Yes.
And Michael, what is your tea?
Technology. Technology has always given me a way to express myself, to become creative, to show off. Yeah, I suppose, to show off, because I was never really a sports person, and I'm not great with my hands. Judy is, but technology gives me the ability to translate things and to make, to be creative.
And what would your E and A be, Michael?
Education, because I love teaching people and sharing.
And your A?
Adults.
Adults.
I'm more comfortable with adults than I am with younger people.
Well, thank you so much.
Language. Okay.
And this is what we do is we serve tea, right? And I knew these teas were coming because I could just tell by the way you you run your services, and that is that technology and education is very deeply important to you guys. It's enriching, and the attitude has to be there in order to learn. So all of these teas flow nicely and smoothly together. And that's how you guys serve a really good, strong cup of tea, is you really bring that education to the table. So I want to thank you for that. And a lot of the comments that are coming in are thank you, wow, thank you for the awareness. Getting a lot of thank yous. Um, and I want to thank you guys because without you guys bringing this awareness to the table, how do we know about these services, right? How do we know that we can find these services? And Judy, with your calendar, bringing the resources of what's out there. A lot of people, and Michael, like you said, research, search. We need to really stop enabling people. People really need to start stepping up to the table and researching and checking for themselves. And I love that you said not Google, because I don't. I check for Google, but I like the other ones. I'm like a duck duck girl, and I'm a brave girl, so I like to go brave all the time. And that. So now I want to get into the personal questions that I ask all the guests before we wrap up, because our time is flying by really quickly here. So Michael, I want to get into your color, navy blue and Renaissance man. Those were the words and colors you gave me. So if you'd like to share a little bit, and then we're going to jump into Judy's nurturing and red. And then we're going to do some resources on how to find these amazing two people. So Michael, if you'd like to share on your color and your
I think
and your one word.
Even though I'm wearing tan today, blue is on the bottoms. I'm a blue jean guy, and I have been for 50, 60 years. I've even asked to be laid to rest in blue jeans. So I'm a forever in blue jeans, Neil Diamond kind of guy. As far as Renaissance, I've got my fingers in a lot of pies, and I've always tried to be a generalist, and um, I'm able to carry on conversations with all kinds of people. I'm in a networking group that uh, sets up appointments all over the world. I've had over 400 one-on-ones with people from all over the world, and I just love chatting with people about what's going on in their parts of the world and sharing with them what we're doing over here.
Well, thank you so much for that. And Judy, if you'd like to get into nurturing and red.
We spent a lot of time figuring out what is the right word to describe us. And originally we talked about Michael being a sage because he's wise.
I do have that word too.
And I wanted to be the sagette because I thought they went together so well. But I settled nurturing because I think that encompasses what we do, taking care of everyone. I feel like the mother image. I'm always wanting to bring people together and nurture, and that is just me. And as far as red, what was that?
I'll second that. Judy cannot say one word that never cross her lips is goodbye. I have to give her a warning and then wait for a half an hour before she's actually ready to leave. So
it's hard for me. It is very hard. And red is a warm, nurturing color, but it also was my father's name. So that was a very special relation. That word brings up a lot of memories. Red. It was his nickname.
Right.
That's cool. And this is why I ask these questions. And a lot of people struggle with giving me one word. You guys gave me a couple words. So I have Renaissance man, I had sage, and I had what else did I have here for Michael? The information sponge.
It's 2 words.
And then for Judy, I had nurturing, compassion, and heart. I think. kind-hearted. So I do have all the words in that.
Okay.
So I want to thank you guys for that. And it is hard sometimes to just give yourself one word on how to describe yourself, because
Very.
some people don't even know how to describe themselves. So that's why I asked that question. And
Mhm.
color also represents what type of character you have, what you're drawn to, and that. So it tells me a lot about you as well. I really, really enjoyed this morning with you guys. It was incredible. We got some really good information out there, some really good comments, a lot of wows and thank yous. But we have a question here that I think is deeply important that we need to get out there. So this is a 76-year-old woman. She's giving me her age, and she's from the United States, and she would like to know what message you have for the seniors with your programs.
Don't give up. Don't give up. We had someone a few weeks ago on our Monday afternoon program who was ready to pull plug. And another woman chimed in and said, I was in your shoes 2 or 3 weeks ago. Just come back and listen. And if you just listen and you're going to learn, we offer 15-minute free programs, and she signed up for one, and it went an hour and a half. All right. And she has gone to the point where she's regular and she's learning as she goes. And I could tell by some of the questions she asks or sends me. And that's what we want to do. Our purpose here is to open people's eyes. That's what we were talking to the wealth of information that's available on the internet, and let them go off in directions. We're not saying become a techie, Frank. If doing virtual museums, if reading if genealogy, regardless of what your likes are, we want to just open up that door and show you how to use that information.
And you know more than you think you do. A lot of people have said, I can't do that. And they end up being able to do it. It's just a matter of mind over matter.
And
I think that's really deeply important. And you guys are bringing really good points to the table. Don't give up. And, we do know more than what we sometimes give ourselves credit for.
Yes.
So, Michael, any final words before we wrap up?
Come visit us. I mean, it's free.
Everyone is welcome.
Yeah, everybody is welcome. Let's kick over 150 people this week. Absolutely.
Let's blow up the internet.
So, Judy, any final words you have for the listeners out there and who will watch this replay and hear this on the podcast stations later?
No, I second what Michael has said. Just have more confidence in yourself, and you can do it.
The one thing I would say is, one way to get the word out is if anybody knows any organizations that want to sponsor an event or sponsor a program, that we have found is the best way for us to get our message out. If somebody is willing to host a program or to put on a program, here, of course, it can be in person, but we do the vast majority of our work online, and we've been practicing this for 2 or 3 years now, and we understand what works and what doesn't work at this stage of the game. And that's the way to get the information down, to have it filtered down. And so that's what we're looking for. Any kind of senior organizations or senior clubs. We've done programs from coast to coast with organizations that have asked us to. So thank you.
Thank you so much for putting that out there.
Yes.
For all the senior groups out there, organizations, or anything that you would like to join or connect with you, Michael and Judy, I'm guessing the best way to reach you is through the website.
Through the website, or our general email is, again, going back on Wacky, it's called wackytips@gmail.com. So that's
WACI tips at Gmail.
I love how the wacky always comes in.
It's called branding and marketing. That was the life that brought me to this. Was I was an internet marketing and SEO kind of guy. So um, I've always got that branding and marketing on the back of my mind. That's why we tried to incorporate the ABnC parties, because we didn't want to lose the fact that this business has been around for 33 years. So we didn't want to start with a new name. So we call it's really the Wacky Tips division of ABnC parties.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining and sitting and having tea with me this morning. You really have brought a lot of awareness, a lot of teaching, a lot of good topics, and a lot of research. Again, like Michael says, search, and if you would like to know more about their programs, check them out on their website, email them, connect with them. And if you'd like to have them on your podcast, be sure to reach out to them. And if you can't reach them, you can always connect with Miss Liz, and I will connect you and network and do all of that good stuff as well, because that's what I do, is I like to connect the dots. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank all of the viewers and listeners and all the amazing questions that came in, amazing comments that came in. Thank you so much for joining today. And I will see everybody back here at 3 p.m. where we will be talking with Jason Shars from the UK. That's right. And we'll be talking mental health, because that's what we do, is we bring awareness to a lot of different topics, a lot of different flavors. And his story is truly empowering. This man has overcome a lot. So we're going to see you back at 3. And then we're going to close up Thursday with a 7 p.m. show with memoirs on grief, because we want to bring awareness to grief as well. So stay tuned for that, and check out Miss Liz's YouTube channel. Give it a quick subscribe, and you'll be notified every time there's a live tea time. And you can join in, leave your comments and questions and all that good stuff. And again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, Michael and Judy. It was an honor to have you. Please don't leave. I will talk to you in the back of the stage. And I want to see everybody at 3 p.m. as we share and support and make a difference together and serve a cup of TEA as one.